You're listening to Arsenal Pass, a flesh and blood podcast for players by players. And all about strategy, leveling up, and the latest news in the world of Rathe. Welcome to Arsenal Pass.
Hello everyone, welcome back to episode 250 of Arsenal Pass. Hayden here with Pankaj Bhojwani as always. This week on the pod, it is just a week away from the world premiere for Flesh and Blood's latest set, Compendium of Rathe. The man on the other side of the mic here is going to be at that world premiere. He will be casting. I will be watching from home, excited to see what the Compendium has in store for us. Silver Age is, or the Age of Silver rather, Pankaj, is upon us. We're going to talk some of the previews we've seen so far. A lot of commons and rares have started to be previewed. A lot of equipment, which we'll talk about. Is this, is equipment going to define Silver Age, Pankaj? That is a question I definitely have. And we will, of course, do a meta update for this week's Road to Nationals. But, kind of rear view mirror a little bit on that because in just 4 weeks' time, we are in ProQuest Season 4 Las Vegas. It is all happening.
Wild that ProQuest season is sort of like just a month away, but in between we have literally Sage coming out, so It might seem like it's a decent bit away, but there's a lot of action in that month leading up to ProQuest season.
100%.
My week in Flesh and Blood, nothing really. I've just been actually not doing very much, just been spectating some games, been following the spoilers obviously, and I am getting really excited for this world premiere. I'm just excited to cast another world premiere. My first time was casting the Super Slam world premiere, and it was a very different vibe than casting a tier 4, and I'm looking forward to this one. It's just much more laid back, exciting vibe as people discover the cards, especially since they committed to giving us the commons and the rares before the world premiere. But I don't know how much of the M's and the L's they will have revealed before the world premiere, so it'll be exciting to get to see those as they come out as well.
Yeah, well, I think we know in 2 days' time. So basically the day after this pod drops, we should have in hand all the commons and rares, as my understanding, 31st, right? So, or first.
30th or 31st?
Yeah, it depends where you are in the world, I think, for that. So, yeah. Awesome. My week in Flesh and Blood. Well, I did play some Flesh and Blood, so I was back in New Zealand for the weekend, and I did go along to an RTN because I wasn't qualified for nationals, and I was like, all right, I probably need 3 wins. I think 3 wins should get me there, but ideally, let's just top 4. I went 2-1. I had 2 wins.
And what did you play this time?
2 losses. I played Marionette, which I did.
Okay.
I was saying last week I'd probably play Marionette. I think
I got you to tell us you aren't playing Marionette so that you would actually play
I didn't. You tried to, and I said no. I'm not saying that. So as of right now, I am not qualified for nationals, and I am not playing Road to Nationals this weekend. So I say that I have not put enough into this Road to National season to feel like I probably should have easily qualified. I think in the past for Road to Nationals, I think it's always kind of been, I think this is certainly on me. I think it's always been a bit of an afterthought of oh yeah, I'll play Road to Nationals, but ELO always qualifies me, so it's kind of whatever sort of thing. And the change in the system this year, I don't think it changed my thinking of approaching Road to Nationals, and obviously Road to Nationals being earlier as well. And I played basically I played Slippy the first 2 weeks, and then I played Syndra, and then I played Marionette. And with not a whole heap of testing, and definitely not the usual testing process I would go through to an event where my aim is to obviously do really well. There was a lot of just playing things, seeing what I liked in this format, just trying to see if I could do something fun with this format. Obviously spent a lot of time with Slippy. And I think that has netted the result that you would probably expect if you don't put in, I think being halfway decent at the game only takes you so far, right? Especially as the gap closes and how good players are and how flat this format is as well. There's just so many things that are playable, so you really get rewarded and punished on the other side of the coin for not knowing or really well or not knowing the decks in the format. And I definitely got punished multiple times over the past few weeks for not knowing the format. Losses to Valda, a draw with a Jarl, a loss to a slightly different Acilio list. These different things that, I just wasn't necessarily as... I lost to a fatigue deck, these sorts of things, because I didn't know my deck well enough. So I think I'm okay with it. At the end of the day, I will... If I'm really keen to play nationals, and I believe my testing process is good for nationals. If it ends up that I don't get through on XP, I'll use a PTI. At the end of the day, that's fine. Like if I'm that passionate about wanting to, that's why I have PTIs. That's why I've held on to a number of PTIs. So I think I'm at peace with it. I can look back at my week 2 of Road to Nationals and go, I probably should have suffered the sweltering heat and just played 2 or 3 more rounds to get a couple of wins, and I'd be fine. But that's okay. Is what it is. I think I didn't put in the reps and didn't reap the rewards, Pankaj. So.
I think it makes a lot of sense. There's no shame in redeeming a PTI for nationals. I think there's an element of like feels bad, I suppose. But I mean, there have been plenty of strong players who have redeemed PTIs or found other. Yeah, have redeemed PTIs for Nats.
Including a national champion who redeemed a PTI and won a national championship. So.
Exactly. So no shame in that. I do want to add on a little bit to your piece about the skill floor of the players. I think it's a common trend amongst gaming communities in general that obviously the longer the game exists, the higher the skill floor gets and the higher the average skill level of a player gets. And I've definitely been feeling that as well. We spoke about this, I think, a week or 2 ago, about it does feel like not prepping and not being very up to date with your deck and with your matchup strategies is, I don't know, has felt a lot more punishing, I would say, since 2025 than before. It felt, I don't sound too complacent about this, but I felt like in the past I could just go to my ProQuest or go to my RTN and be confident that I would do well, whereas now I don't have that feeling anymore. Part of it, I think we both have sort of had other commitments just in general since like last year, where it maybe takes away a bit of a time for prep. But I do think a big part of it is actually just everyone, the game is getting better. The game is also growing, and that just increases more competition as well.
Yeah. 1,000%. I think I've fallen victim to that very much this Road to National season of just assuming that I'll get by on my ability, to be honest, and not putting in enough effort.
Yeah,
being a bit complacent.
This is not the case anymore.
I will say though, I don't think it's just the strength of the players. That is definitely something that is happening. I also think it is an outcome of this current format we're in, where is very flat. Because I think in the past, probably if I really wanted to do well with limited prep time, I would go, I'm going to pick the best deck or like one of the 2 best decks, and I'm going to learn the key matchups, and I'll be fine. Because like if I pair something random, I'm going to win 78% of the time just with the power of my deck anyway, so it's fine. That's just not the case in this format. It's just really flat across like kind of 10 decks basically. So you just can't do that right now. So I think that is definitely a piece as well that I kind of underestimated of like, it's fine, I'll play Syndra this week. I think it's good enough. Or I'll play Marionette this week. Like I played Marionette and I lost to a dash in round 1. I think nothing I really could have done about it. Like I just didn't see any power cards. They saw power cards, is what it is, right? And then I can't remember my other loss. But it was like one of those things was like, I probably could have like played a little bit better, and like it's fine margins. Like if I played a little bit, I probably would have won. It's that close sort of thing. So yeah, it's a tough one.
I think especially with the sort of decks that you like to play, like you tell me you were playing like Slippy, you were playing Mario. These decks do require like a lot of reps as well to get the most mileage out of them.
Syndra is the same.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like, I don't know, like Florian and Verdance are sort of in the category of you play them a few times and you know what they're about, But like Mario especially in paper, oh my god, that deck has a lot of things you need to track and remember. Right, with the whole marked mechanic, with all the tokens that they create, with all the flipping, it's like there's so much.
I was playing this matchup against like a Yal deck that went to fatigue, and I'm like trying to play quickly because of, like I know we're going to time, and I'm like I'm confident I win the game, but I'm like trying to play quickly, and I'm like there's so many things to manage. I'm like rolling dice, I'm like grab a token over here, I'm like you're marked, you're unmarked, like flick this dagger, get this graphene, like it's just so many things to do.
Flick the graphene, you're like, okay, now you're unmarked unless then there's a kiss of that scar tissue. I flicked the kiss. You remember to flick your kiss. If the kiss had an on hit on it, like a scar tissue or something, you have to remember to remark them, because and it's just like, brother.
And then I'd also been playing Slippy for 2 weeks, so at one point in a game earlier in the day, I forgot that I wasn't playing Slippy and like didn't have go again on my stealth attack, like things like that, like just small mistakes. So yeah, it's really interesting. I was going to say something else on that topic, but it's kind of slipped my mind. So if I remember it, I'll come back to it.
It slipped through the cracks.
It did slip through the cracks on this one, unfortunately. It's really annoying. It really annoys me. I can't remember the point I had because I thought it was a decent point. If I don't say, if I do say so myself. But
I believe you. I trust it was a decent point.
Anyway, I honestly can't remember. That's so frustrating. Anyway, should we move on to the news, Pankaj? Because I think the main piece of the news this week, unless there's anything you want to add before we get into it, is just going to be preview chat, to be honest.
Yeah, that's it. Did we have...
Well, we're premiere next weekend, so
yeah,
make sure you're tuning into
and
that.
we didn't have any tournaments or anything this past weekend to talk about.
Some Battle Hardens, I think, but nothing...
Tier 3 and above, which is kind of what we focus on. Yeah, aside from that, we had RTN Week 4 results. It is wild to me that RTN season is still going on. We were talking about this before we got on. But yeah, I mean, because it started literally first week of January, like on New Year, I was surprised to hear there's more RTNs happening this coming weekend, actually. So there's 5 weeks of RTNs, and then World Premiere, and then we come back from World Premiere, and it's PQ season. And then we end PQ season, and it's Japan.
Yokohama.
So, oh gosh, we are absolutely.
And then national season, and then Vegas, and then it just rolls through at this point, which is it's kind of crazy.
And then, of course, they've also increased the number of callings throughout the year as well. So there's just callings being peppered in between all of this as well. So anyway, in the news for now, it's just light. Except we're gonna go over some previews. And then we'll talk about the RTN Week 4 results in the main topic. Yeah, I think... But we're sort of sharing main topic here, where we're going to do a bunch of previews as half the main topic, basically.
We'll kind of do this, we'll cut to the kind of Cookout, and then we'll do a recap on this week's meta to kind of end the show. So that's really going to be it. So I think preview season is well and true. Oh, that's the one thing, actually. We have a preview, and it is... it's a spicy one. I'm going to say it's a spicy one. Whether that's good spicy, bad spicy, medium spicy. Maybe it's mild spice, you just don't know. But our preview will be dropping on February 2nd, PST, I'm going to say. So Monday afternoon US time. Wednesday morning, Australian, New Zealand, Southern Hemisphere kind of time zones. So keep an eye out for that.
Mm-hmm. Don't think we'll be able to do anything crazy special for it.
No.
But
that's okay.
Tune in for that.
All right. I want to start with all these equipment that have been previewed, Pankaj, because there is a fair few of them. And it would be remiss of me not to start with maybe a brute piece of equipment. So I'll tell you what, how about you read some cards? I will put them up on screen while you read them, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. So let's start with Predatory Plating. This is a brute equipment chest. It's a rare. It's a playable in Sage. It blocks for 2, and it has Guardwell, and has the ability instant destroy this, gain 1 resource, activate this only if you control a card with 6 or more power.
Yeah.
So blocks 2 and then gives you a resource later at some point, basically.
I mean, that's really good. A chest that blocks 2. I mean, for Sage, this is, I guess, going to lead me to the question of the episode, and we can kind of circle back after we look through some of this, because we've seen a lot of equipment over the last couple of days. But is equipment going to kind of be the defining factor of Silver Age? They're printing a lot of equipment for each class, or for a number of classes so far. Some of them better than others, which we might get onto. But, predatory plating, blocking 2 at the chest spot, then giving you a resource. Obviously, there's a conditional piece of this, so you have to control the card with 6 or more. But, let's think about a common card that you're going to see in a potential brute deck. I don't know, Wild Ride, for instance, to then pop this chest and utilize the value.
Yeah, I want to zoom out a little bit when you ask about, is this going to define Sage? So first, I guess... let's dissect what define means. I think one thing that I think the equipments in general are going to do, and I really hope they do, is maybe less of a defining thing, but more of a stopgap. Because a big problem with Sage and with 20 health formats in general that we have seen in the past, and we are sort of seeing right now with Sage, with how Chain is so incredibly strong, how the Azalea does the thing and it's very oppressive, is that the games are just way too short sometimes to really realize your deck strategies, and it just ends up becoming whose first 2 hands are better. So instead of, are these equipment going to define Sage, I'm wondering whether this equipment is there to slow down the format to have these onboard pieces, which is effectively increase the 20 health format and to make it more like 25 to like the 28 range, so that we actually get more games of Flesh and Blood and less let's play war with the top like 4 cards of a deck, basically. That's one. The other piece I want to talk about, this is maybe closer to the defining piece that you were talking about, is trying to capture the flavor of the classes. Because without the legendaries, like without Runeblades having Grasp of the Arcanite, for example, without the Broods having Savage Sash, for example, how are you supposed to capture the flavor of these classes, right? If you think about like all the way back in the day in Blitz, like people just running like Heart and Cross Trap, like everyone's running Heart and Cross Trap.
100%. It's broken.
Or like these generic pieces of equipment, because they didn't have, or like just the legendaries, right? Because you could run them in Blitz. But they didn't have sort of class-specific equipment. They didn't have equipment that captured their flavor. So I do think that is the other piece that these equipments are trying to capture, is so that new players who are entering the game still get to feel like they're a Brute, or still feel like they're a Runeblade when they're playing the lower power format.
Yeah, I love that. I think when, I think define is as much as it sounds like a specific term, I think it's actually quite a broad term, because it's like, well, define in what way? Does it define the sort of the essence of the way the game's played? Does it define, will the decks be defined by, they run this equipment versus this equipment? I guess what I mean when I say define is kind of similar to your first point, is like, will they be the cornerstone that kind of changes the format from what we see it as today when it comes to Silver Age? And so I think we're pretty aligned on that. And what I would say on that is, I think a lot of people will hear what you just said and go, well, what's the point in having 20 health? Why not have 25 health or 30 health, or just play adult heroes and slow the format down, to your point? But I think what is really cool and I'm really excited about is it creates a meta within itself. Because all of a sudden, if the meta slows because of the equipment options, then other decks become viable as well. And then all of a sudden, the equipment starts to shift yet again in terms of what the equipment is that people decide to play or to pack. And I think that is really cool. So you have this base layer, which is the 20 health, and then you layer on the ability to extend the games and protect the heroes more. Start full is obviously a core concept of Flesh and Blood. So why not make sure that's really accessible within the format of Silver Age as well? And then you go beyond that, and we'll talk about some of the other equipment that aren't as defensively minded, that aren't as quote unquote fridge minded. But also it creates this kind of thing of, well, you could start at 25 life, but you get to decide with your equipment when you use it. And that is a very, very strategic part of the game at its essence, right? If you strip Flesh and Blood down to its very simplistic 4-card turn cycles, right? How do you break 4-card turn cycles? Well, a big piece of one of the tenets that Flesh and Blood choose to use is on board, right? Sip, right? Starts in play, stays in play is a big part of that. So is permanent-based pieces of the game. But that starts in play, stays in play.
And the arsenal.
And the Arsenal, of course.
Sort of like the premier piece that everyone has access to. That's how you break it.
1,000%. I think when you, alongside that, is that starts in play, stays in play, so weapons and equipment. So, yeah, I'm super excited about the prospect of some of these equipment. Where would you like to go next when it comes to this equipment, in terms of maybe some of these others that you particularly find interesting?
Right. I guess we did finish discussing predatory plating.
It's good.
Combine it with,
it's really good.
Go Again 6, like Buck Wild or something as well, which... I need to definitely get more up to date with the Sage legality thing. I'm pretty sure Buckwild's legal in the format.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, just cards like that, and then you sort of get a Savage Sash-esque kind of turn, right? Like, I think what some of the strongest plays that Broods do in CC is Wild Ride into Claw into 2-cost. Or Wild Ride into 2-cost, for example. Wild Ride into Swing Big or whatever. And you sort of get to do that for 1 turn predatory plating after blocking 2. Seems solid. Seems great. Let's move on to, I guess let's stay in the Brute. Do you want to stay equipment, or do you want to stay class?
I want to stay equipment, I think, because I think the equipment is quite interesting in this format. And we've seen so far, I think we've seen Brute, we've seen Guardian, maybe we leave Guardian till last. We've seen Mechanologist, we've seen Ninja, we've seen some Warrior equipment, we've seen Runeblade, Ranger, we've seen some Pirate equipment as well, so Wizard. So honestly, we can go to any of it, I think. I don't necessarily want to hit it all, but maybe we could go to Runeblade next, because you kind of did invoke.
Oh, I was... Sure, yeah, let's just go.
No, let's go with yours. Where do you want to go? We'll go Runeblade after your choice.
I want to go talk about Mask of the Swarming Claw.
Okay, cool. I think
that's
this
the ninja one.
card is very cool. So go for it.
So cool. I'll read it out. It's a ninja equipment headpiece. It's a rare, blocks for 0, has Arcane Barrier 1 and Spell Void X, where X is the number of chain links you control. So effectively, the wizard player can't just wait until you fully tapped out and then deal damage to you equal to your health. Now they have to deal damage to you equal to your health plus a number of chain links you control. Unless, of course, you aren't sending lethal, in which case I can just wait for you to close the chain. But if you are sending lethal, this sort of doesn't let them play as freely on your turn as they would normally like.
Yeah, this card's very interesting. What I guess, again, going back to that idea of define the format, we're seeing a lot of fun, cool, new ideas in these equipments that will be playable in Silver Age. Of course, they're also playable in Classic Constructed, but you've got a lot of competition at the head spot between Mask of Momentum, Mask of the Pouncing Links, for instance. But your, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? Your competition at that slot, the head slot for Silver Age, is a little bit less. And though this might look quite niche, I think it's quite powerful if you expect Kano to show up, definitely.
It's especially quite niche because I think currently no one's interested in playing any wizard in Sage. Hopefully more of the commons and rares change that, but so far I think the wizards are kind of non-existent. I did want to sort of discuss with you just for a second. It just came to me as we were talking about flavor and stuff. This is one of the few times in Flesh and Blood that we've seen them sort of detract from what the different slot in the equipment zone should provide you. To sort of expand on that, typically the headpiece gives you some form of card advantage or card selection.
Or manipulation.
That's like what a headpiece usually does. Yeah, manipulation. Chest piece is resource-based, arms piece is damage-based, and then feet are action point-based. This is weird. It's sort of, maybe it's sort of like Arcanite Skullcap-esque, but Arcanite Skullcap is also one of those cases where they kind of detract from it. I just thought that was an interesting point to bring up. I would have thought if you just showed me this text without telling me the type line, I would have guessed chest, because I think it's the closest to like resources in terms of like what it's providing for you. I guess this is more like a ninja Arcanite Skullcap.
Yeah, you're really right, actually. Like, I guess Amethyst Tiara is one you could point to in the Runeblade head slot, which obviously creates Spell Void. So I guess maybe when Spell Void can kind of override it, I guess, to an extent.
Spell Void's... then there's Shock Charmers, right? Which is like also Spell Void, but it's like in the arms. Yeah.
Yeah, what's the other effect on Shock Charmers?
Shock Charmers, it's damage. You can pay 2, and then your next attack deals 1.
It does fit the arm slot, for instance.
Yeah.
So,
I always saw Spell Void and Arcane Barrier as just like little riders, like just little extras they put on something else that has an effect that is relevant to the slot that it's in.
Yeah.
Like I think of Vexing Quill Hand, for example. It's like it's damage arms and they just slapped AB onto it.
Yeah, because even if you think of something like
Metacarpus Node,
or like Cap of Quick Thinking, where it's like it's a damage prevention piece, but it's related to cards.
Manipulation, yep.
Yeah, so this is something quite unique that we've not...
This is Skullcap. This is Arcanite Skullcap, basically, but in the sense that it's just probably defensive, and it's in the headpiece.
Yeah, I think I can get around that. Yeah, okay.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this was not an indictment on the card. I was just commenting something I noticed.
Yeah. Okay. Should we go to Runeblade next?
Okay.
Do you want to talk about the arms, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about Beckoning Haunt. So Runeblade equipment, arms, blocks for 2, rare. It has Guardwell, an action XX, 1 resource. So 2x plus 1. Destroy this. Return target aura with cost X from your graveyard to your hand. Very important to note, this does not have Go Again. I think the first time many people read this, they were like, wait, this is broken. And then they forgot that this doesn't have Go Again. You can't just... I don't know, in your Vincent deck or something, just like pitch 1 and grab it on Malefic from your yard and play it immediately. If effectively, if you have an action point at the end of your turn, you can use the action on this to turn like a resource card in your hand into an aura and to put in your arsenal for like the following turn. Or I suppose if you have auras that are instants, then you can go ahead and grab that like immediately.
Or if you're Briar potentially and you have, go again on your attacks, you could utilize this. Or Aurora, maybe.
Go again. So, I mean, you will still end your turn with an action point and then you convert your resource card into an aura for your arsenal, right?
Yeah, sorry, but you get a nice clean arsenal at the end. Yeah, sorry, you were saying the same thing. Yes, if you go again, then you can do it at the end of the chain. And I think there's potentially... I think this card's good, though, because it's like... It's a resource sink. Like, it's a potential resource sink. And I think resource sinks are something that Flesh and Blood has not explored heaps of because they are really powerful. Like, Grasp of the Arcanite. Resource sink, very, very powerful. What's some other resource sinks in this game? Braveforge Braces, for instance, or Gauntlets of the other one, the ones you love.
Tyrannical Rex.
Well, that one too.
Brute one,
but also the other warrior one that creates, or Grains of Bloodspill, for instance.
Grains of Bloodspill. Yep.
Resource sinks are really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think a big difference. I mean, obviously, I think all the examples you listed are very strong. Yeah, the big difference that this is like a one-time thing, and the XX is very interesting.
But it blocks two, so it is one-time thing, but it blocks two.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But I'm just wondering, like, yeah, I don't obviously because it's 2X, you're not really going to use this with like big auras and. That sort of tells me they sort of had that as a bit of a stopgap to not recur big auras, but I can't even think of like a big aura that currently exists that you'd even want to recur if you even had the option. I imagine most of the time this is sort of just getting back a Malefic or like a spare resource at the end of your turn when you have the action point. Maybe in some cases like a Runeblood Incantation or something and you pay the full blue into it. But mostly it's blocks too. And to be honest, I'm sort of going off of a discussion earlier about like the different equipment zones and what they represent. Is this also like breaking that a little bit? Because if you showed me this text without the type line, I would have guessed headpiece.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Exactly. But this is sort of maybe Silver Age is just messing messing around with like that flavor piece of the equipment.
Yeah, I'm honestly not sure. I guess one thing I know this we're kind of looking at these cards through the lens of Silver Age because why would you not just play Grasp of the Arcanite? Yeah. But I mean, technically you could get Channel Mount Heroic back in Classic Constructed, right? If you so wanted to pay your 7 resources. 7? I know, but you were asking about expensive resources. I found some for you. So
what you can do is because you paid 7, your current Channel Mount Heroic gets to stay one turn longer.
Brilliant.
Because that's your resource sink.
That's so powerful.
Oh,
yeah. Wow.
You've cracked it.
You've cracked it. Yeah. I'm not sure that's it. Anyway, but I think maybe we're talking about Aurora before, right? Get back your Sigil of Lightning, maybe. You can play it. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah, I do think it does, to your point, break the tenets of what we'd expect a little bit, and that's quite interesting.
Now I'm looking at the other equipment that we're going to discuss, and they kind of all, like the next one, Runebleed Robe, which is Runeblade Equipment Chest, block 0, it's a rare, says instant, destroy this and a rune chant you control, prevent the next one arcane damage that will be dealt to you this turn, and has Arcane Barrier 1. Like once again, I'm just like, wait, this is just another thing that's just detracting from what we commonly expect of like chest pieces.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to ask James White or Brian Gottlieb about that because it feels it's clearly very intentional, right? They've made an active decision here in the set to depart from the traditional ties to each piece of each equipment zone.
Yeah, because, I mean, if you look at predatory plating, that still kept the paradigm, right? Yeah. It's a chess piece that gives you a resource. That still kept it, and which other equipments have we seen so far? Trench of Watery Depth, for example, the pirate equipment chest. Mm-hmm. When this defends, you may pitch a blue card from a graveyard. It has Blade Break 1. Same thing, the resource on the chest. So it's like, they're definitely taking more liberties with it. And yeah, I'm with you. I'd be curious to like pick their brain about it and be like, what sort of causes attraction?
Yeah. What do you think of Trench of Watery Death while we're here now?
True, I did kind of just move on to it as I was trying to fish for examples of stuff where they didn't detract. What do I think about it? Right, so I mean, I'd love this in Wizard. Can we have this in Wizard? That'd be sick.
That'd be very good.
Yeah. So the Pirates want instant. I mean, currently I can't think of many instants that Pirates are playing that have cost on them. Like there's the prevention instant, right? I forgot what it's called. You reveal the top card of your deck. If it's blue, you prevent like 3 damage. That instant, but that costs 0. And I can't think of what a pirate want to do on the opponent's turn that costs. So maybe there's just more cards in the set that we'll have to wait for.
Unmovable, I guess.
Oh my god, yeah, of course. It's defense methods. Yes, honestly, it's probably. I fully blanked on that. You're right. I just thought of instance. Too wizard pilled. Yeah, it's probably just a big defense reaction. That makes sense.
Or I guess potentially to pay for a piece of equipment that costs 3, right? Like another piece of equipment to activate.
Could be
potentially.
Okay.
Anyway, let's quickly.
I mean, using this for unmovable does seem pretty sick, to be honest. And I think it definitely goes in line with the slowing down the format that we're talking about. It gives Pirates like a one time a game, just one card unmovable.
And consistency, because
Pretty
one of the
cool.
challenges, especially with unmovable, is like, do you have the resource curve to be able to support that all the time consistently?
Also, some sort of recursion. Like I don't want to miss that part of this card.
It's very important.
You pitch a blue card from a yard, it goes back to the deck. It's like a mini remembrance in a chess piece.
100%. Let's hit a few others quickly. What do you think of Eighth Storm Wellingtons? This is the Arcane Barrier 2, where it's Wizard League's equipment at rare, defends 0. Importantly, does have a defensive value.
It makes me sad. This is the Striders at home. This is the
It's not even Striders.
other classes get fun stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the other classes get like fun stuff with like AB on them plus effect. Spellward on them plus effect, and then Wizards is like, yep, yeah, here's your AB2 for the mirror, and you be happy with it. And it's like, okay.
Hey, you think that's bad? Should we move on to?
Oh yeah, no. There's one worse. Guardians. We'll talk about y'all next. Enclosed Firemind. It's just Guardian Equipment Head, blocks 0, has Arcane Barrier 1. It's Null Rune Hood. It's Null Rune Hood, but Guardian flavored. And
rare.
I'm very confused with this card.
So
yeah,
I think there's a clear reason for this. I was trying to search to see if I could find anything. I don't think there's any cards that are printed at the moment, but this is to do with cards that have type, right? Like a Guardian specific type requirements. I don't know if maybe we just haven't seen these yet. It's so hard to search for these cards. I couldn't think of any off the top of my head other than like, there's the obviously like remove counters from a shield or whatever, right? -1 counters from your equipment.
Nerves of Steel, right? Oh wait, no, that's chest equipment. Yeah, no.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen anything yet, but I don't know. Obviously, it's the laughing stock right now of like, you got a Guardian piece of equipment. Oh, it's not Rune Hood. Bad luck. But we'll see.
So yeah, I think part of it could be that they want to have synergies with the Guardian type line with certain cards, like say your Guardian Equipment get plus X or whatever. The other thing I was thinking was maybe down the line we get what's it called, like a set bonus type thing.
Yeah.
Sort of like the Arcanite
Arcanites.
set bonus that we have in CC, right? The Skull Cap plus chess piece. I was wondering whether this is maybe leading towards that as well. Like maybe release a chess piece at some point that's like, it's another fire or something, or enclosed whatever, and has a synergy with it. If you're equipping both, you get an additional effect.
Yeah, or you have like an instant that gives you your equipment defense for the turn or something, or I don't know, who knows. It could be
like a Fabricate, but for Guardian.
Yeah. All right, any other equipment you want to touch on? And then let's quickly touch on a few non-equipment cards before we move off this topic.
Yeah, we should talk about the Warrior equipment. I think that is pretty strong.
Yeah, which one?
We've seen Helm. I mean, they're the same card, just under like Helm of Unity.
The Unity?
Confidence of
Yeah,
Unity.
the Unity is very cool. Okay, I'm going to bring up Helm of Unity, so you go for it.
Yeah, Helm of Unity, Warrior Equipment Head, blocks for 1 and has Temper, but it says Unity, when this defends together with a card from hand, this gets +1 until end of turn. So it seems Warriors can actually get Temper too with on the equipment pieces, which we haven't seen yet, I believe. in Silver Age. Of course, with the added complexity that they do need to block with an additional card from hand, and then they sort of get these equipment pieces with temper too, which, I mean, we spoke about slowing down the format. We've seen 2 Unity pieces so far, Helm and Gauntlets. Like, these 2 already, that's a 6 extra life for Warriors. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, BYO fridge, basically. It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree, very powerful. Unity, very cool mechanic, obviously. We have seen Unity before. We saw it... where did we first see Unity? Was it Dust Till Dawn that we saw Unity, I want to say?
I think it was Dust Till Dawn.
Yeah, but we've not seen a lot of it. So it's very cool to see Unity back. And I like this. This is a much cleaner use of Unity, I would say, personally.
There is an additional complicated piece over here. Of course, it's going to be very matchup dependent, because if you're just blocking 1 card and then this Unity piece, you're blocking 5, which is a bit of a rare breakpoint to encounter in Flesh and Blood.
It is.
Of course, if you block with another Unity piece, then it goes up to 7, and that's a little bit more common. So maybe it'll be used that. But I think there is some consideration depending on matchup you're facing, right? If you're playing like a ninja or something, a deck that sends a bunch of 3s or even a bunch of 4s, and maybe these Unity pieces lose a little bit of value. But I just thought
I mean, 4's fine because you get the second use of Unity on this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you get the tempo.
Yeah, it's still strong.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay. Right. Do you want to chat about any non-equipment cards at all, or are you kind of... Is there anything that's...
Yeah, I want to talk about Frostspike.
Yeah.
This was, I believe it was revealed in the gameplay showcase. Sam versus Alex. It was a 5 versus Icelander matchup. And then Frostspike was revealed. This is an Ice Wizard instant. An Icelander card. I really hope she's playable. Blue 0-cost Ice Wizard instant. Create a Frostbite token in an exposed head, chest, arms, or legs zone. So with Icelander's ability, if you do this on their turn, it's sort of like a mini Blizzard. It's sort of like Sage's version of Blizzard, where you sort of give them 2 Frostbites out of nowhere, and it can be played from hand as well, so they might not be expecting it if your arsenal's empty.
This card good?
I'm a little underwhelmed, honestly. Yeah. When I saw it, I was like, okay, the requirement of them having an exposed thing, especially when you are like a wizard, like I'm not entirely... We're going to have to see how equipment plays out, but if there are a bunch of these Guardwells, for example, or if there's just a bunch of AV pieces that stick around, I feel like getting an exposed zone in them is going to be pretty tough, unless Icelander gets some equipment destruction effects. I can't really see that happening. So it's quite a heavy cost to have this no block when the ceiling is basically just 1 additional Frostbite, right? I guess there is added equity for being able to play this from hand. But yeah, overall, a little bit underwhelmed from this card. If this is all Iceland is getting, I'm not too excited for this hero in Sage.
What do you think about the red version of this card? I don't know if we've seen a red version yet, but if there's a red version of this card, what do you think?
We have not seen a red. The red version would be create 3 Frostbites.
Correct.
In Expo.
Yeah,
no, wait.
I assume so.
Is that they've never stacked Frostbites in one zone, so it would be create 3 Frostbites across 3 different exposed zones.
Yeah.
I think that would be worse, probably. Like, I think against an Icelander, they're 100% going to bring at least a couple of AV pieces, right? Like, at least like 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then
okay, just checking.
If there's another Guardwell piece somewhere, it's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, just checking. Because I think Arctic Incarceration Red is a very cool card. A card we're probably going to see in Sage a bunch, I think. But, yeah, just curious.
I did mess around with that in my Sage Icelander deck.
Makes sense.
Had the same problems of red 2-block with no go again. This is very conflicting with like your Wounded Bull and stuff. Yeah, and you draw 2 you draw that and Wounded Bull in the same hand, and you just like want to cry.
The same problems that always had, I think, beforehand in those decks.
Yeah.
I think last card I'd love to chat about is actually Bear Hug's kind of boring. Honestly, it's fine. I'm not.
That was something I wanted to talk about Bear Hug. I feel like we've sort of discussed a lot about their established conventions, if you will, and how they've been detracting from it. Mm-hmm. When I first read Bear Hug, I was like, why is this worded differently compared to, say, Buckwild? This is play this only if you've pitched a card with 6 or more power this turn. But previously in Brute templating, they have said, this gets an additional effect, blah, 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 if there's a card with 6 or more power in your pitch zone.
Yeah.
Which is a very mildly different templating, and I'm just curious, was that intentional or was that just a little quirk, I guess? Because this could have said, play this only if there's a card with 6/1 power in your pitch zone. Maybe there's some random rules thing happening, or a really niche rules thing happening in the background that makes... that requires this to be worded this way. Because the only interaction I can think of with this templating actually is meaningfully different than like the Buckwild templating is Potion of Deja Vu, where you can
the same thing.
It's literally this Potion of Deja Vu where you can Potion of Deja Vu and your Bear Hug you can still play your Bear Hug because you did pitch a card with 6 more power this turn, but if you Potion of Deja Vu and you play your Buckwild, it won't have go again. That's the only thing I can think of. And I was like, is that really why they templated it differently? I was just a little bit curious about this quirk.
Yeah, I mean, there might be in the future, right? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, maybe brutes start, I don't know, putting stuff from the pitch zone back in their deck.
No,
pirating now.
Well,
something?
The only thing I can think of is there a way for cards to go into your pitch zone but not be pitched, right? There is in certain, like for instance in all the pirate cards say.
Yeah,
pitch,
they all say pitch.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll keep an eye out. If you've got any thoughts in the comments, let us know. All right, last card I do want to talk about, I think, is this keeping going on the aura side. And let's talk about Runic Felling Song, if we can, maybe quickly. I can read this one. I've got it up here, and I've already shown it. So I'm looking at the red version here, but it's all color cycles. It's a Runeblade action attack at common, defends 3. The red one attacks for 7, costs 3. And says, when this attacks, you may banish an aura from your graveyard. If you do, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. So it's a 2-card 8. It's a wounding bull, Pankaj. But it obviously... And it's split damage as well. So I think this card is... I think it's quite a cool, powerful card. Obviously, you have to banish something to get there, and you should be playing auras. But I think these cards are cool.
It also blocks 3. So it's Wounded Bull that blocks 3. It is Sage's Felling of the Crown, maybe. I guess not quite.
Fighting Spirit.
Also, the art is Pog. Oh my god, this art is really cool.
It's so good. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, this card seems strong. I mean, obviously, the big question is the auras, right? What auras will... This isn't an Earth Runeblade action, actually.
It looks like it should be.
It's just a Runeblade action.
Because it's
it looks like it should
got
be.
Florian in the art.
Yeah. But it's like how Oakenold is like just played by Yarrow, right? Even though Oldham's like in the art. Anyway, so we've got Runic Felix Song, which can be played by many Runeblades. I'm guessing it'll just be played by Florian. Seems very his vibe. But then so the question is, what sort of auras are these Runeblades going to play, right, to actually leverage this? And without that, it's very hard to tell the impact of this card. But I do like the concept of it, if you will, as long as the hoops also have some rewards in them.
Yeah, I mean, Malefic Incantation, you've got Rune Blood Incantation, like, there are sigils potentially, maybe. Yeah. I don't know about that. But.
Also, actually, on that sigil point, if you have an Earth aura of some sort, and you banish that, you could just decompose one more time after playing this and get online. And I think that's also a relevant piece.
That was going to be my next point. I think it's very relevant. I think it's like, I actually think it's massively, massively, massively relevant. Because there's also the sigil as well that we've seen, which is...
Sigil of Sylphide, I think. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's a 0-cost blue Runeblade action aura that blocks for 3. It has Go again. And says, when this enters or leaves the arena, you may banish another aura from your graveyard. If you do, deal 1 arcane damage to target hero. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. Yeah. So, ostensibly, this is a deal 2 on your blue, which is like on rate. But of course, block 3, Go again on a non-attack action that actually does make it over rate. But it has the additional hoop of you need to have 2 auras in your graveyard. 1 when this enters and 1 when it leaves. So... Yeah, seems cool. Seems potentially like overrate as far as non-attacks of block 3 go, especially on blue, but it has the hoop that you have to go through.
I'm just keen to play potentially like a Florian deck where I'm like, drop my show of strength, swing my weapon, pass the turn, next turn, play a big fat attack, play my big fat Runic Felling Song, banish the show of strength. This was called, right? The 1-cost aura that gives +3. Next turn, destroy this other.
No! I was sure friends a brood card. I was so confused. I had to Fabry search it. Know what I'm talking about. No, I think you're talking about strong yield.
Strong yield. That is what I'm talking about. Strong yields. The harvest one that gains life. Like I don't know. Maybe there's something there. It could be quite cool. I am so excited for Sage. Honestly, like my brewing brain is just going nuts seeing all these new cards, and I hope that a lot of these brews are going to be playable, and that the format is quite. There's a lot of interesting ways to take it to start the format. Anyway, I think we're gonna move on. Otherwise, we're gonna run out of time.
Yeah, regarding Sage, I'm curious what they're gonna do with the BNR. Which, for those who don't know, we have a BNR scheduled for Monday.
3 days,
I believe. 2nd Feb. Yeah, which is just a few days after we see all the commons and rares. I hope they bring it forward again, just like the way they did for Worlds, where they didn't follow what was the established timeline and just released it a little bit earlier for people who need to fly out to London for the world premiere. Again, I'm not competing, but as a competitor, I'll definitely appreciate knowing what the format is like. Especially by then, we would have also seen all the commons and rares. Like if they can sync it where people know all the commons and rares and what is banned before they show up for the calling, I think that would be amazing. So yeah, there's a BNR for that. I'm curious what they're going to do on that front as well, because we do have some outliers. And then beyond that, just going off your excitement for Sage, I'm just, as we approach closer to Sage being a reality, I'm getting more and more excited for the whole community vote thing, actually.
Yeah,
and like who's going to get like voted out of the format. I think that'll be just a super fun little campaign thing we're going to have going on in the game.
It's like watching a Love Island. If anyone watches Love Island, I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. Commander Cookout time. If you want to get your questions in for Commander Cookout, please do so. You can drop them in the YouTube comments below. Let us know they're a Commander Cookout question. You can email us, arsenalpassfab@gmail.com. You can, if you're a Spotify listener, drop in the Spotify comments. If you see us in person at an event very soon, whether that's World Tour London, for instance, maybe it's the Calling Brisbane, maybe it's Pro Tour Yokohama, for instance, you can come up to myself or Pankaj. Please say hello. We always love to meet listeners of the pod, and you can give us a question in person, handwritten question with your name and your question on it. This question comes from YouTube from a couple of episodes back, and it is from, I don't know how to say that.
I'm not sure. Chio Binha?
Chibinha, I'm gonna say.
Now I'm worried I said something offensive. Actually,
okay. Anyway,
shouldn't have tried.
I have a Commander Cookout question. I come from LOR. That's Legends of Runeterra, right? Okay. And I love to read blogs and social media posts from people explaining strategies and sharing knowledge that today seems to be never free. We are currently living in a sea of metaphor guides and paid content. I understand that playing in a game that you have to spend money just to get in, and capitalism and everything, putting a paywall on content makes sense, but does it also exclude a big part of the community? Also, Discord chats don't give the same depth because of the way chats work with everyone talking together. Feels like today we only have the podcasts and articles LSS themselves put out. Maybe I'm just a boomer, but I miss some widely accessible written content. Honestly, me too. I guess I'm a boomer as well, because I love written content, and I think it's a real shame, but also I think it's a real shame they don't have more written content. There is some written content out there. There are some websites that do produce written content. There are those that obviously produce paywalled written content, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I just don't think that, even when you look at other TCGs, it's just not what it used to be. The heydays of written content is well and truly behind us, unfortunately. I think back to the heydays of Magic and Pokemon and these TCGs. Channel Fireballs, TCG Players of the World, and by the way, TCG Players still around, and I believe does still do written fab content. So there are publications out there, but it is not what it used to be, I will admit. I guess, yeah. But what do you want to say, Pankaj? We can get onto the Metafy piece if you want to as well.
Yeah, I've been thinking a lot about the paywall-y nature of Flesh and Blood content, and I have a theory which I'd love to get your thoughts on. This is something that I've been musing about for a while. I was actually going to bring it up myself if we didn't get a Command and Cookout question about it. So thank you to this user for bringing this up and sparking the discussion. I want to talk about content in Flesh and Blood in general. And I think a big piece, which is something I've heard about from other content creators in the space, especially content creators coming from other games. Flesh and Blood content does not do very well. Like, if we can just be honest, video content Flesh and Blood, as someone who used to make video content Flesh and Blood, and knows many people who make video content Flesh and Blood, it does not do well. I think a very clear case study I can think of is Margin Bay, who came from Legends of Runeterra. When Legends of Runeterra died, he did start trying to make some Flesh and Blood YouTube content and like video content. Just wasn't doing well, and he like moved on to like go do other things basically. And I do wonder whether that is perhaps what is motivating these creators to move to a paywall-y nature of content, because the free version just I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a player-based thing, like maybe the player base isn't big enough for this, or maybe we don't have the digital client, we don't have that fancy cool art thing that actually entices people to watch. Like Tarsha is obviously not a very exciting thing to spectate if there's someone streaming it, or maybe the Flesh and Blood's a sort of game where just diving in to the middle of a game when someone's playing it is actually very difficult for you like catch up in a certain sense, because it's not like a board state that you're keeping track of. You're like, I don't know how many power cards this person has used, I don't know like what they've pitched and everything like that, for example. So it's difficult maybe get in. That maybe is what makes, say, like streaming Flesh and Blood difficult. I don't know what it is, but for some reason free content in Flesh and Blood does not do well, and I do wonder, I have to, my guess is that is the reason why paid content seems to be the way content creators move to, because then at least they get something out of the effort that they put into it. Because people who are not content creators maybe don't know this. It's a lot of effort to make content and to put in all that effort into content. Like a video that you've edited out, and then to just have it like not do well, for it to like barely break like 2K views or something like that. It's demoralizing. It doesn't feel good. And at a certain point, you're like, why am I even doing this? And if the creators can instead be like, okay, I put a Metafy guide, you get like 10 to, I don't know numbers, depending on who it is. Like, I know Ian Zhang for his Prism guide for Metafy got like a bunch, because obviously he top-rated the world for it. But you know, suppose you get like, I don't know, 50 people who pay like $15-20 for the thing. That is just way more worth your time, because make no mistake, while this content takes a lot of effort, it's also born out of a lot of experience, a lot of very niche, like professional experience, right, of people piloting these decks. That is just, it's probably just more worth it for them. That's my theory on this.
Yeah, this is such a deep and complex issue, or a topic, I guess I won't say issue, in so many ways. And I think some of the things that you said, I definitely resonate with, having been someone for almost 5 years now who has created a podcast and also video content. And I really, really enjoy creating video content for Flesh and Blood. I think there's multiple reasons why people create content, you know. I think at the end of the day, if you're looking at it from a financial perspective, yeah, I mean, right now it looks like the way, if you're motivated by financial return, then Metafy is going to be the way to go for you, right? Like paywalled content, because I think where we are today, we live in an economy that is, everything is competing for your time. So long form content just isn't as desirable as it used to be. People want short form content, or they want reward content, right? They want to be able to, I give X, I get Y in return. I want the full guide at my disposal at hand. And that's, I think, why Metafy, these guides do so well, right? Is because it's like, well, I'm time poor. I transact this small, payment. I get the full guide, I get the cyborg guide, I can go to my event and whatever it might be, right? So I think that is just a real reflection of a lot of broader social climate and economy, I would say, to be honest. But what I would say, though, is, over the years of creating video content, I think we've had some great success on Arsenal Pass with our video content. What I would say, though, is that where we've had success is where it does provide that return. So it's giving you content that probably a lot of the time would be paywalled if it was on a written guide, for instance, or it is something very unique with a higher production value. For instance, I think I was a bit disappointed with like some of our gameplay. It didn't get as many views as I would have liked to have seen, and I think that is because there is not a tangible return as much as I think the production value was quite good that we put into those. So I think the production value needs to be of a certain level, but then also the return on the watcher's time needs to be quite dense, I would say, for people. So for instance, I do think like free like the deck techs and the guides that we used to do, video guides and things like that, I think typically did really well because of the return that people would get on it. Whereas like some of the other content that maybe isn't as tight, things like that doesn't do as well. So yeah, I mean, I guess what I would say is right now we're in I guess a bit of a reward based economy where it's like, well, I have this knowledge, I can get something for it, so I'm going to do it. And a lot of people who are putting out this content, they are putting a lot of their time into Flesh and Blood and needing ways to support their. In some ways, it's a job for a lot of these people, right? Or it's a big part of how they are living their life. So it makes sense that they would take their knowledge to a format where they can get a financial return that they can then invest back in their travel and their events and their cards and things like that. So I'm not surprised to see it. I think it's a bit unfortunate. Like I would love to see more free content. I would love to be producing more video content personally. I just don't have the time to be doing so. So yeah, that's how I feel about it.
And yeah, it's also hard to like find that motivation as a creator when you don't sort of see the views. Actually, as you're talking about other video content that we've done, I'm going to touch on the replay analysis that I was doing last year, where I invited pro players to come on and we reviewed their games on stream together, right? There was a lot of editing that went into that. Like if you go watch those, I did, scan through the entire video first beforehand, compile what cards are in the hand in the arsenal at every stage of the game, have the little graphic on the side so you can walk through the decision-making process with the player as if you are looking at their hand and only their hand. So, that's the information you have access to, right? That was the idea of this content where you get in the player's head, see it from their perspective. And I kind of just didn't do so well. It's just like, I mean, it did fine. It just didn't do amazingly. And I think it just, leads to the whole piece about Flesh and Blood video content just not doing so well. And there was like a lot of back end that went into that. There was obviously editing on my end. There's getting the player. We would also typically give the player a little bit of like a token of appreciation. Like we gave them some of our content creators promos, for example, like the Scarf for Scarves that came out. Every player that came on and guested on the replay analysis episode, like we gave them Scarf for Scarf promo, things like that. So there's a lot that went into it, and to just see it not be very successful on the views end of it just does make you feel, oh yeah, okay, so like what is the point if people aren't engaging with this content? Like what even is the point? But if people are engaging on like other people's like metafights and stuff, that it makes sense for content creators to move that way. Yeah.
One last thing I'd say though is I think the majority of people who are active on Metafy are not content creators. In terms of, I'm not saying they aren't content creators now, but they weren't traditionally content creators. A lot of people have been high-level players or good players of the game who have then leveraged Metafy as opposed to being content creators. They're not saying there aren't content creators on there, because there are, but I think the vast majority weren't originally content creators. So anyway, look, I have no like personal bias towards or against Metafy or paywalled content or anything like that. I think that at the end of the day, it's an economy, right? And I think it would be great to see more free content, but that also comes at a cost for those that create it. And I think we're just in a very different environment to where we've been in the past. I would love to see a website. I know the Wraith Times was around, for instance, for a while. At one point I was like really keen on trying to start a content website. It's just a lot that has to go into it, so it's just really, really difficult. But yeah.
Content consumption has also changed, to your point about what sort of content people want these days. Maybe it's time for a shorts, just a pure shorts. TikTok. Where's our Flesh and Blood TikTok? I don't even have TikTok, but
we did shorts for a bit.
All the kids are these days.
Mr. Brendan Patrick did some shorts for a bit.
Yeah. Actually, the official FabTCG YouTube channel does have a short section, and they put out shorts every now and then.
Yeah. Okay, great Command and Cookout question. Lots to think about. Keen to hear others' thoughts on content in general and what they like to see. But I think if I had to boil it down, I think that content consumption has changed, and there is a real want, especially in a game that's quite complex, for distilled down guides. Effectively, they're really. I mean, I think we were among Arsenal Pass was among probably the first, if not the first, to be doing deck guides for Flesh and Blood, 5 years ago, and we were producing them on a sort of monthly basis, and they were really, really popular. People wanted those. We kind of did our videos, and then we would attach a full sideboard guide that was on Patreon for those videos. So we would kind of give an explanation of the deck and those kind of things, and then we had a paywall, I guess, to an extent or our membership for Patreon for our supporters for those guides effectively. So they weren't per guide, but if you joined us, then you got access to all of them, obviously. And they were really, really popular, I think. And I know others started doing sort of similar, and it's obviously just a really, really big part of content creation now.
Mm-hmm. People do love deck techs. Like, that is content that just always does well. And people love tier lists. That's what I've gathered from the content creation space.
Fair. That is true. That's true. I love deck techs. I wish I could have like a setup in my house where I could just bang out, when I'm playing at a high level and actually playing a lot of events, just bang out deck techs, because I think they're so fun to create. Like, my favorite videos that I've ever created for our channel have been deck tech or deck tech adjacent. So, my Kano guide is one of my favorite videos I've ever made. But like, when I won nationals, the first thing I did when I got home from winning nationals is I sat down and I made a full video on like my nationals winning list, and like it was so much fun for me to be able to do that. So I love it, honestly.
God, I much prefer replay content. The Runaways actually has been doing some replay analysis as well. Recently, they covered Lucas Oswald's finals game against Michael Yasker at Colin Columbus. Love watching that sort of content. That's sort of content I enjoy making and want to make as well. Yeah,
just not for everyone.
I don't know. It's like I want to actually watch gameplay decisions and discuss what decisions were good or which didn't pan out or which were necessary risks and things like that. Oh, that gets me going.
See, I prefer to
deck
do that.
techs, I don't know. They're so fluid. Like, deck techs get outdated within like a month, right? Like, Florian LL, then a bunch of decks change or whatever. Yeah. But you can't even play your Florian deck anymore. Or the meta changes. Like, Pen's gonna come out. Your deck changes. But you know what? These concepts of strategy, they remain.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. See, so each their own. Mm-hmm. All right. If you want to get your questions in the Commander Cookout, please do so. We're always interested in great questions. We've got a few minutes to talk, and that's all we need, honestly, because not a lot has changed. But let's just talk about the meta update. I'll go through the Road to Nationals wins for week 4, and then just want to get your thoughts on this current meta. And the question I'd love to ask you, Pankaj, is what's the best deck in the format right now? So this week, Verdance took out top spot with 18 wins, 15% of the wins this past week, followed very closely by Arachne Marionette, which had 15 wins this past weekend. And then we had Gravy Bones and Syndra rounding out the top 4, each with 10 wins. And then very close next, 5th, hanging in there, your favorite, KO Armed and Dangerous. And then there's a lot of 8s, 7s, 6s. But I think we see that we've spoken about this top 10 of decks, and there's sort of a drop off once you get past Acilio at 6 wins. But there's just some newcomers in that field. Pallades, after its breakout weekend last weekend, had 7 wins. Victor has been a big riser, 8 wins this past weekend. Makes sense. I think it's very well positioned in the format right now, although Verdance did really well this weekend. So yeah, I don't know, just any thoughts, and then tell me, what do you think is the best deck in the format right now? Is there a best deck in the format?
I think the triangle that I proposed last week, I think it still remains, with Marionette, Acilio, Gravy. Of course, the RTN Week 4 results don't really reflect that, but I feel like they haven't been reflecting that the past few weeks anyway, because of just how well Verdance has been doing at the RTN level compared to anything Tier 3 and above, right? Verdance just hasn't been performing, but it kind of makes me want to take these RTN results with a grain of salt, where it's sure, at a local level, yes, you can go play Verdance and she's going to be strong, but I think if you're preparing for something higher than that, like a Calling, for example, it's I would not be looking at Verdance.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know how I feel about this format anymore. I just think all the decks are just so close, honestly, that whereas in the past have been Gravy and Marionette have been the 2 best decks. Maybe they are. Maybe Gravy, Marionette, and Verdance are the 3 best decks. But if they are,
Gravy, Marionette. I mean, I still think it's Acilio, but oh well.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Acilio is really powerful. It's just really inconsistent, and everyone in the dog is packing Echoes of Truth, which I know, I'm not saying that's the be all and end all. You can obviously play around it, you can do these things, but it does obviously hurt. So people are playing more Disruption to try and target Acilio, for instance, as well. So I don't know. I basically think that there is quite a few decks in a tier 1 to tier 1.5 range, and the tier 2 is really close, and I think that is the format right now. and it probably will be until Compendium of Rathe releases and our Slasher ban and restricted announcement.
Mm-hmm. I think probably Marinette, right? If you had to pick like just the one de facto best deck, I mean, I think you'd probably just take Marinette. I think given that it seems like they're kind of only negative matchup, the only like true, okay, this is just a bad matchup, is Gravy Bones. And they're not that many great Gravy Bones pilots, like just like as a fact, right? The deck is difficult.
We're back to it again.
So if there is... What?
Just the Gravy Bones.
Yeah,
I mean, it's about the players.
It is about the players. I think Gravy is absolutely one of those heroes where the pilot skill makes a big difference.
Yeah. I don't know. I think Arachne has a bunch of like 55 matchups, honestly, more than I thought after playing it a fair bit. Like I think Syndra is like one of those like 50 to 55 matchups for Arachne. I think Dash.io is as well. Like the thing is like a lot of these decks in the format right now, they have less consistency, and they have spike cards where like it's like, oh, I played into this matchup and I didn't see any Leave No Witnesses, so my codex sucked, and so or like overcrowded in the format now, all these sorts of things. So I just think it's super close. I think it's why Victor's doing well, because I think Victor has some really nice matchups. It's another deck that just has kind of like this power outlet with Visit the Goldman Estate and some good disruption and pummel lines and things like this. And yeah, I just, this format is just honestly really, really quite flat and close, I think. So yeah, maybe it's Marionette, but if it is, it's by a whisker, honestly.
I'm skeptical on the Victor piece until I see a decent result at like a tier 3 or higher. I'm going to take that as like an RTN anomaly. I feel like I'm not fully seeing the Victor angle. Although I guess shout out Aggro Blaze, Zach Phillips, who did do pretty well at Columbus on Victor. So I suppose that is a data point, actually. Maybe there's something more to it.
Did he top 8?
I think he... No, he didn't top 8, but he was like close. I think he went to X4. If I remember correctly.
I think there's been a couple of X4 Victors recently, top 16, top 32. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. LL check-in. KO shouldn't hit LL. Verdance will get quite close and is probably going to be above KO at the end of the season, which we kind of did mention the other week that could happen. But we shouldn't have any other heroes living legend before Compendium releases.
Yeah, Gravy is still at 0.5. Pains.
It's also not winning that much as well. Like
it's third on the list. 10 wins at RTX.
Equal with Syndra.
Yeah.
Two more than Victor. Yeah, anyway. Okay. That's been our conversation. I mean, that's just a quick update. Honestly, this is 1 week left of Road to Nationals. I guess we can help the fam out. Pankaj, if you're playing a Road to Nationals this weekend, what do you think the pick is based on how we've unfolded? Like, it's spreading wider, so I would just pick something that is really powerful for this weekend. I would probably play Marionette or Syndra, personally.
Yeah, probably play Marionette. I'll probably play Marionette. Yeah, I was like, I think I would want to play Kasai. And I'll play Kasai into a bunch of Marionette in practice and be like, this isn't very fun. And then I'll probably play Marionette. That would be what my process would be if I was preparing for an RTN this weekend. Yep.
Story from the weekend. I went to New Zealand, was hanging out with some friends. Round 1, me and my good friend Damakai, who people who watches the pod or listens to the pod for a long time would know, my kind of main testing partner for big events. We get paired in round 2. And he's playing Kasai, and I'm just like, yeah, okay, this matchup feels. I mean, I got like nourishing on turn 0, and that felt like the most impressive thing he did all game in that matchup.
Yeah, I remember I see the Kasai Marionette matchup, and I'm like, yes, the Kasai plays Sharp and Steel, and then goes to Marionette, and they play Save Bloodshed, and I'm like, okay,
yeah,
what's happening? Yeah,
yep. Or they like play cut from the same cloth, and then you're like, oh, cool, you have Blood Runs Deep in your hand. Okay. Nice card.
That's a Syndra card. Are you talking about Blood on a Hand?
Blood on a Hand. Jeez, there's too many cards with so many similar names these days. It's getting out of hand, honestly. I used to be perfect with card names, and now there's so many cards with similar names. It annoys me.
Okay, Show of Strength and Strong Yield are quite different from each other, though.
They've both got strong in the
names.
name.
That one's just on you.
Kind of.
No, they don't.
Anyway, all right. That has been episode 250 of Arsenal Pass. Compendium of Rathe World Premiere next weekend, pre-release the following weekend, and then we are releasing Compendium of Rathe and heading to ProQuest Season 4 Vegas. Good luck to everyone playing in the final week of Road to Nationals and trying to bank the qualifications. And until next week, we'll see you in the next episode.